Let's get on to England's crunch tie against Senegal this evening. How about this? Pleased to say we can cross live now to the former England defender and Sky Sports pundit, Jamie Carragher. Jamie, very good afternoon to you. Let's start with this news. Bukayo Saka expected to start tonight. How much is that the right call from Gareth Southgate?
Well, it remains to be seen. We'll see at the end of the game. I'm sure we'll debate that. But I think what he's got in four wide forwards, really, in Rashford and Foden played the last game. Saka and Sterling played, the two games before that. I don't think there's a huge difference what he goes with, and I think the fact that he can chop and change, and maybe if England gets through, there's another change again in following tie, shows how much strength and depth he's got in those positions. I just felt that Foden and Rashford may be the right ones to go with, just because they were so confident on the back of the last game. But then you go back to the first game and how good Raheem Sterling and certainly Saka was within that game. So I'm not shocked or surprised whatever he does in the wide areas, because I think we've got real quality there, and it's probably the one area in the squad where there is real competition for places.
Is there a scenario where Foden, Saka and Rashford could all start with Harry Kane and perhaps Bellingham or Henderson deeper alongside Rice? Could you see that?
I mean, it'd be really bold. He plays all of those attacking players that you just mentioned, and Phil Foden goes more central. I think that's where he will play, as his career moves forward. But I think after the first game, or I'm not sure, maybe it was on the back of the USA game, I think Gareth Southgate was quoted on talking about Phil Foden's role and his position, and talking about him as a wide player, and that's where he plays for the clubs, and he doesn't really see him as a central player. So, it would be a little bit of a shock if Foden goes central because of, the quotes from the manager only a few days ago.
Rashford, 3 goals so far this tournament. How impressed have you been with him? Obviously, England fans already dreaming he could win the Golden Boot.
I'm sure he's dreaming that himself, but I mean, it's been fantastic for him. He really has, and he's started on the bench, and it just shows how important players are from the bench. Certainly in this World Cup with 5 substitutes, so I think a lot of games are going to be won from the bench. He did that really well in that first game, and no matter what team starts a tournament, that team never finishes the tournament, and it's because players come in from the cold, if you like, and make a huge contribution, and that's exactly what Marcus Rashford has done up until now. And I think it'd be a huge surprise for me if he's not in the starting lineup, certainly on the back of getting 2 goals against Wales. So you can imagine how confident he is right now.
Do you expect it to still be a 4 at the back, and if so, who plays right back, Kyle Walker or Kieran Trippier?
I think Kyle Walker will play right back. I expect it to be a back 4. If England are to get through, that may change against France, and Gareth Southgate may think he has to have maybe a special plan for Kylian Mbappe on that side. And I think if he does, Kyle Walker will be a big part of that. So I felt it was the right decision to play Kyle Walker against Wales. Hopefully today goes well, and then England do have a game, as you'd expect, maybe against France. So then Kyle Walker, I think, is the only player in our squad who could try and cope and deal with Kylian Mbappe, just for his sheer physicality and pace as well. So you're almost trying to get Kyle Walker up to speed to face France in the quarter-final. Yes, we're not there yet, we know that, but you have to think ahead as a manager, and I think that's what Gareth Southgate did by choosing him in the last game.
Yeah, in those central midfield positions, sadly, Jordan Henderson doesn't seem to get the praise, perhaps, in some areas that he should. I mean, I was watching the game thousands of miles away from Qatar, and I could still hear him shouting and barking away, which was just absolutely magnificent. Should he be getting more praise, and does he get the nod, say, over a Mason Mount in that midfield for you?
I think he will in this game. I think he'll play. And I think in that game against the US that England just looked a little bit outnumbered and short in the central midfield. Declan Rice at times felt very isolated in that position, so I think that's why Jordan Henderson came in for the Wales game, just to stiffen the midfield up. And once you get to the knockout stages and the competition of opponents improves, I don't think that's going to change. But Jordan Henderson is one of those players who I think is probably more valued by a manager and players rather than supporters. And there's been players like that throughout the generations. You go back that, teams, or certainly players that I played with, were more appreciated by certain people, but that's just the nature of that. Every manager who has been in charge of Jordan Henderson picks him, so that tells you everything you need to know.
Yeah, wonderful. I think I'd need cotton wool if I went out on the pitch alongside him, because that would just make my eardrums bleed, I think, at certain stages. Let's talk about Harry Kane now, though. We shouldn't be worried yet. Now, that was interesting. Saw an interview with him saying, I'm tapering up, ready for the knockout stages. That would be a wonderful sight to behold for England fans, wouldn't it?
Yeah, and if you go back to the last Euros, he sort of came alive in the knockout rounds. I think his performance against Ukraine, as the competition went on, he seemed to get better and better, and it's probably a little bit similar maybe in this competition, but in terms of goals. But I think some of his general play, the assists he's made have been fantastic, and we have to understand Harry Kane's game is changing. He's not just an out-and-out number 9. We see that for Tottenham now for the last 3 or 4 years. He's a fantastic player who can play as a centre forward. He can drop deep. I would argue he's the best passer of the ball in the England squad. So, and we've seen that, and some of the assists that he's made already in the competition. He'll be desperate to score a goal, of course he will. That's his bread and butter, but he's still making a huge contribution to the team. So I wouldn't be too worried about the goals. As I said, he's playing other people in, they're getting in the end of it, and that's the most important thing. That he's still having a pivotal role in this England team, and I think his performance has been a lot better than we saw in the last Euros.
Yeah. As for Senegal, coach Aliou Cisse, he missed the pre-match press conference because of illness. Well, coming out of Senegal, though, he's well enough to be there tonight. So preparations have been far from ideal. But you shouldn't, despite missing Sadio Mane, this will be a test tonight, won't it?
Yeah, it'll be a big test, but I think it's a game England can win. I think they'll be confident going into the game, but it will be a tough game. We're talking about a team who, I think the opening game of the competition, or certainly one of the early games, they come up against Holland, who we see where they are in the competition, and lost 2-0, but they lost the 2 very late goals. One of them a big mistake, I think, from the goalkeeper as well. So they were right in the game with a team who are now, in the quarterfinals against Argentina. So we know how tough it'll be. It'll be a physical encounter, but I think England will have too much quality and will go through.
We're into those knockouts now. Do we dare mention the P word? Could be needed. Do you expect it to go the distance there?
No, I don't think so. I think at whatever stage of a competition that you've got ideas on winning a competition, I think history tells you that you will have to win a penalty shootout if you want to go far in a competition. So I think that will happen at some stage if England are to be successful. But I don't think penalties will be needed here. I think it'll be a tight game, but I just think England have got too much quality in the attacking areas not to score a goal or two. And yeah, I'm confident England will get the job done in 90 minutes.
Because you mentioned Senegal's keeper, obviously Edouard Mendy. We know all about him. He's been substituted before penalty shootouts for Kepa, hasn't he? But in the African Cup of Nations, he proved his worth there, didn't he?
Yes, he did, and he's a player with Premier League experience. They've got a few of those within the squad. Obviously, Koulibaly at centre back. They should have a decent relationship with being at the same club as well, and that shows you how tough it'll be. I mean, he's had a bit of an in and out season, really. The goalkeeper looks like he's lost his place at Chelsea, not just in terms of penalty shootouts, but with Graham Potter going with Kepa a lot more this season. So maybe he's got something to prove. The whole English nation will be watching as well. So yeah, it's a huge game for him as well, because as I said, the world's watching, and I'm sure he's going to be a lot more busy than Jordan Pickford will be, and it'll just be dependent what type of Edouard Mendy that we see.
I don't want to tempt fate and look too far, but let's do it anyway. Poland, France, we'll know the outcome of that one. Do you think that will be France? And if so, how tricky an opponent would they be for England or Senegal going forward?
Yeah, you'd expect France to go through. I watched Poland's last game. They were really poor against Argentina. They'd have to improve an awful lot to give France a problem. France, I think, for me, in those first 2 games, were the outstanding team in the tournament, maybe along with Brazil, who look very strong defensively. But France, we know the attacking quality they've got. They've got the best player in the competition in Mbappe. So if England were to meet France, I think that would be a really difficult proposition then going forward. We all know that. We've spoken about that before the competition started, that if we both finish top of the group, that's going to be the head-to-head. And yeah, I think that would be a tough one, and it would be difficult to get through on that. But let's try and make sure that we sort out Senegal first, and then we can focus on Mbappe and France, I think.
You seem amazingly calm ahead of this game tonight. So do I sense a confidence there? And if so, how confident should we all be? What will the score be?
I think England will win 2-0, 2-1. Senegal may get a goal at some stage. But yeah, I'm not too worried. I think England's the confidence that they've got now, the feeling within the squad. Gareth Southgate always seems to get it right when he's making slight changes. You mentioned Saka looks like he's going to come into the team. He always seems to get it right at this stage of a tournament. So, yeah, I've got huge belief with the way England are playing, but also the confidence and the feeling within the camp. So, I've got not too much worries, and that's why I maybe look a little bit relaxed, Rob.
Seeing you relaxed and smiling. Jamie, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.